Get it all out right now. Can you read that?
Yes. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners. Normally a full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. However, watching House of the Dragon. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Zach. Sitting here with me, my brother Nate.
I'm Nate. I'm the better of the two hosts.
That's rude.
I know.
Just start with, I guess.
Topping it off. I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, so we are watching House of the Dragon and loving it. So what's up, dude?
House of the Dragon. Yeah.
What'd you...
So we watched it twice.
Yeah.
And it's just getting better and better.
Yeah, so this episode we're talking about King of the Narrow Sea.
Righto.
So, you want to talk about last episode a little bit, or nah?
No, let's just jump into this one, because, like, it's kind of precludes to, essentially Daemon fucks shit up in the Stepstones.
Right.
And Rhaenyra is supposed to be getting married and doesn't want to, because she's Rhaenyra. And this one picks up a year after the events at the Stepstones with Daemon. And Rhaenyra is on a tour.
Yeah, she's on a tour for her proposal, for her hand in marriage.
Which is a common thing in these sorts of, environments where it's a marriage tour. And different suitors are kind of throwing themselves at her, and we get a great glimpse of Storm's End with all the fucking leaves around. Right. Beautiful, beautiful set. And, yeah, Rhaenyra is obviously bored with it as she just keeps making snide little bratty comments. Yeah,
starting out with Dondarrion, who's old, and she's like, he has no right to be up here fucking asking for my hand. And then the next one up is a little tiny guy.
Willem Blackwood.
Little fella.
Yeah, little guy. She laughs. She's like, now a child, which is just great delivery. But,
so, Bloody Ben's dad.
But, yeah, we get Boromund Baratheon, who's sitting there basically telling her, like, Princess, this is unseemly. You're kind of being a bitch right now. Chill. And eventually, as things devolve between Bracken and Blackwoods, as they do, Rhaenyra's had enough, and she's like, we out. So she stands up, and Kristen Cole immediately falls in line with her.
So we paused it here because there's this badass woman in the background who is just here for the drama.
Yeah, she is here for the fucking tea, and she wants to spill it. If we can, when this episode releases, we'll try to tweet out a picture of the woman, I think, with the episode, awesome. Because she's queen. She's queen of the Seven Kingdoms, queen of my heart. And so I was here for it. Nate pointed it out. And yeah, she is just here for the fucking tea. And she wants the good shit, and she got it here. She's loving it. But yeah, Rhaenyra and Kristen Cole make their way out of this sort of courtroom, and
as the little
Willem stabs the bigger douchebag, Gerald, I think his
Bracken.
name is.
He's a Bracken, which is just cool that they're even mentioned in the series.
We love it. It's, the Brackens and the Blackwoods, man.
Yeah, we talked about throughout the second watch of the episode. We talked a lot more than normal, and yeah, we mentioned that this one is just such a good fan service with the way that they're actually, we didn't hear about the Blackwoods, the Brackens in Game of Thrones. We had 8 seasons. We're, 4 episodes in?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. And on top of all the extra, boom, it's here. It's already there. And all this extra shit that they're throwing in, they're pulling right from the book. It's nice to see.
And so we cut to on a boat, motherfucker, and Rhaenyra and Kristen are pulling in sight of King's Landing as she asks him whether he thinks the king will be mad. And we get the exposition here of, whether you rejected every suitor he put in front of you or whether you called the tour to an end with 3 months yet remaining, and which means, Rhaenyra is not expected home for a good while yet. And when she does return home, it's expected to be to prepare a wedding, and that is not at all what is occurring. And so they have this great, cut of them, and then there's the gross ass,
the wonderfully screeched out shriek of Caraxes.
Right. Daemon coming in hot as well after his victory in the Stepstones and the aftermath, as he did some celebrating because, you don't get named King of the Narrow Sea and not do a little party
Yeah,
in.
right.
And so, but,
Swag.
we'll get to this in a listener email, but in the Fire and Blood, it's described as he circled the city 3 times before landing and giving his crown to his king. And it would have just been real sweet to see Caraxes do a circle, but instead, he kind of does a low flying dive bomb at the ship.
Yeah, maybe he did. We didn't see the land, but
which almost, cracks Rhaenyra's head open on the
right. I meant she slams into that just so that he could. Gotcha.
But I love Kristen Cole being super extra. Fetch a maester. And she's like, no, I'm okay. Like it was just a little knock. But we cut to the inner.
The
throne room where Viserys is standing with a big ol' sword.
As a king. It's his walking stick.
He doesn't want, and you pointed it out, that he doesn't want to sit on the throne, man.
Yeah,
he refuses to sit on the throne.
Since he lost his 2 fingers.
After he loses those
Fire
fingers.
and Blood, it's that he never sits on the Iron Throne again because he's scared of getting cut again. He always cuts, and then he gets infected, and now he's even more gross than when he's laying on top of Alicent.
Gross. And the noblemen and women begin to file in. Rhaenyra comes in and finds a place, and then Daemon struts his happy little ass in, and Rhaenyra kind of shadows him amongst the crowd, which is just a really fun shot. And he gets stopped by Sir Harold with the sword point to his chest because he's Daemon, and of course he's got to do the bravado of I'm not afraid of no sword point. But then he pulls out Krahas's Warhammer and says add it to the chair and tosses it, which is just a great fucking line.
Add it to the chair.
That's just like a one of those chaos is a ladder lines.
Right.
Like that's
and Barris himself said the same thing.
It was dope, and so
yeah, boy, melt it down and add it to the throne with the others.
But of course, Viserys is more you wear a crown now, interested in the what sits upon his head.
They named me the king. What do you want from me?
Matt Smith is just owning the role, man. But yeah, he quickly then says, I know there is only one king in the realm, and kneels and presents his crown, offering it to
my
Viserys.
crown and the stepstones are yours.
So Viserys comes down, quite pleased, and goes, and Daemon finally gets his hug. He gets the hug that he's wanted forever.
Dude, my boy leans in with his little head on his shoulder, like a little angsty boy getting his sweet little teenage.
Applauds. It's all sweet.
It's ridiculous.
And then we cut to basically the party that Daemon's getting thrown toward him.
This fucking party, though.
It's so sick. In the Godswood, too. Just
cause. Fuck Viserys this whole time. Just this whole way through. I'm starting with it there. Just fuck
he's fucking him now. I won't hear it. You were always mother's favorite. No. And just being a fucking twat. And then Rhaenyra joins this little circle of the queen, the king, and Daemon. And Rhaenyra's like, hey, welcome back, uncle. And Viserys, grills her, dude. It's fucking brutal. And then Alicent's like, hey, being the queen, what if we showed Prince Daemon the tapestries from Norvos and Qohor? That'd be cool. And then Viserys is like, yeah, Daemon, do you want to see the stupid fucking tapestries from Norvos?
Of course he doesn't
No, he doesn't want to see them. What are you,
idiot?
You fucking
so
dumbass.
Stupid.
Get out of here.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he just shits all over.
And then Rhaenyra's like, I'd like to see the tapestries, and he's like, great.
He it's not even joking. Then he switches just straight cold, and he's like, then you should not deprive yourself, and
get the fuck out of here and go, then, bitch,
dude. And Rhaenyra and Alicent both look just so downtrodden in that moment. It's so sad,
and it leads right into the sweetest moment,
probably the last one we'll get. But yeah, Rhaenyra goes and sits on a bench, and Alicent comes over and joins her, and there's a little bit of the kind of
old friend companionship.
Well, yeah, for sure, but there's a little bit of payback for Rhaenyra from Alicent's foot and mouth moment of, squeezing out kids isn't so bad with the, I don't want to just be forced into marriage just to squeeze out heirs, and Alicent literally bites her fucking lip and looks down that's what I do now.
Thanks
and
friend. And she's like, oh
yeah, sorry,
shit,
my
sorry.
bad. And yeah, they have actually a sweet tender moment. Alicent, people only view her as queen now, and she still likes to think she's the lady Alicent.
Lonely. She's glad she's back, even though they're not even friends anymore. She's
neither of them are really this entire episode like letting themselves have that closeness that they did. They're always kind of pulling their hand away at the last minute. And also Allison's fucking wardrobe in that episode, like.
And let me say, like, after having read Fire and Blood, knowing the shit that she's going to be doing, the way that this is playing out, I'm a huge Allison fan.
Right, yeah,
I don't
we
give
were
a shit.
talking
Like,
about that.
huge
yeah,
fan of Allison.
I really enjoy Allison as well. And so, yeah, they hold hands for a little bit, and it's nice. But eventually, Rhaenyra goes and finds Daemon just kind of fucking meditating under the heart tree and being all like, oh, somebody should paint this
when
now.
we were talking about the camera angles in this with the red
Yeah, the setup, the
and...
way every time Daemon appears in this scene, you can see the red werewood, or at least red. And then when it's on Rhaenyra, there is very little red in her scenes. And it's just interesting the way they're using color. But she finds Daemon, and they have the way, again, they just switch into High Valyrian and out of as they're talking. But essentially, she doesn't want to be married. And Daemon's like, there's worse things to be sold for than just a marriage proposal in a castle. And then Rhaenyra gets to the heart of it, saying, my mother was made to produce heirs until she died. And Daemon isn't unsympathetic here. Like, he does,
He cares. He says, your mother's death was a
tragedy. Yeah, right. And so but he says this is a tragic world, which, apt. And so he tells her that she's depriving herself. She's not going, she's going to forsake the best points of life if she just kind of continues on her path. But she just doesn't. She wants to be in solitude. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. And because he's all upset about being married to a Royce, and
bitch.
She mentions that she's lucky because he hasn't put a baby in her, so she can kind of live a life herself at the moment, even though he's being a dick and leaving her all stranded over.
I don't think a child could grow in such a hostile environment.
Yeah, he's savage as fuck.
So there's a small council meeting, as there tends to be every episode. But Rhaenyra isn't present at this one, and there's now Tywin Lannister on the council as Master of Ships. Because Corlys obviously done with that shit.
He's been gone down in the Stepstones helping do shit down there.
It is talk of Corlys, actually, that is going on, and we were laughing about it, that where Viserys is like, wait, he's still mad?
Wait,
like,
what?
Why is he mad again?
It's the bully that picked on a kid, like, in elementary school, but, like, severely embarrassed him, but didn't realize because he's such a jerk-ass bully, that he's like, wait, he's still mad about me not marrying him? Spurning him and making it so that he couldn't be in the line of succession. No, he can't be. Call him back here. That's a mistake.
But Melos is the one who points out, Grand Maester Melos points out that Corlys is prideful and something should probably be done to assuage that pride and salve the wound. But Otto's like, hey, you know how we were just saying shit's kind of bad with Corlys? Let me make it worse. There's a report in Old Town that there's negotiations between Corlys and the Sea Lord of Braavos, some sort of marriage pact. And so, they need to make one of their own, if that's what's actually happening, to make sure that there's no stepping out of line and not gaining of power on Corlys' side, that he's not going to be backed by the Free Cities. So they need to secure one of their own, and yeah, it's pretty good stuff, because that in Fire and Blood plays out into a whole big messy affair that would be really neat to see on screen if it's adapted, and so them mentioning it, that's fun.
Instead, we cut to Rhaenyra in her bedroom for one of the cooler little reveals in the entire Game of Thrones series, I think. The way that they're coming through and kind of providing these little fleshing outs that can lead to, answers in the future, which are, the past series. But she finds a little sack of, like, boys' clothes, little page boy clothes that she gets dressed up in with a note that shows her the instructions on how to sneak out of the room, one of the secret entrances.
This is really cool, too.
And so she goes and pushes some buttons and finds her secret D&D exit out of her bedroom.
Arya's up a little bit, dresses like a page, and heads out. And then, we get the one big trailer shot of Daemon kind of standing with the city in his
We
dark
also get the
cloak.
shot of Balerian's skull with the rats crawling through it, which I just think is
The
neat
rats
to see
were a big theme this episode. The rats sort of in all areas of the city.
right. And people.
Otto,
and
right. Yeah, it was really good imagery. And yeah, we get one of the coolest sequences of
Yeah,
like
just the
show.
filmmaking.
The Street of Silk is just really well portrayed with the different flashes of fire we were mentioning, where
right.
they begin by showing cuts of different things, and each cut is interrupted by
a burst of flame
from a dragon's like maw, one of these torches that are on these walls.
And it's accentuated as you walk down the street, and they're, just seeing the cool things, the tightrope walker,
Well, you even
and
pointed
jugglers,
out
but then it goes to the fortune teller
lady. Yeah.
like, there's a burst of the flame, and she says, "You want to know the,
how you
future of
die?"
your death?" And then another hard one that goes immediately after, almost as an exclamation point to the statement, but it was sick.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
And this is also cut with Allison in the Red Keep in her night. And we see first her kind of tending and soothing Helena, the newborn Helena Targaryen. And also, you may have taken note of the beautiful shot as she's in front of just a magnificent window. And unfortunately, Helena will find her end at such a window as well. And so they absolutely knew what they were doing there by setting this shot where they did, and it's going to be tragic and awful. And then eventually we get Allison in the king's bathroom where Viserys is taking a bath and he's got all his servants, but Allison sends them away to bathe him and wash his wounds herself, which she does. He even grossly is like, "Oh, you have a softer touch than they do," and yeah, she calls him husband, and it's very gross and clear that she wants nothing to fucking do with this gross man.
Right.
But back in the Street of Silk, Daemon takes Rhaenyra to a play.
A little play.
Which is really cool because it harkens back to Arya's play in Bravos, but also just the sort of grotesquerie of it, like the absolute mockery. It feels
the mummers have really dolled themselves up for the playing characters of royal lineages, and it's the naming of the heir and how they're expecting the future to play out, and straight up calling Rhaenyra out. And Daemon knew what he was doing, bringing her to this show. And part of her knows this already, that there's certain people that feel this way,
right?
But
yeah, she's being playful and booing and cheering when they're saying that Rhaenyra doesn't have a conqueror's name or a cock, but Daemon's like, laugh if you want, but this shit matters what they think. And she's like, no, it really fucking doesn't when I'm queen, because I'm gonna break the wheel. Wait, no, different Targaryen says that, but same thing. And then she's like, fuck this, I just want one night free. Like, leave me the fuck alone with all this shit. So she goes and finds a little, like, food vendor and takes one. And Daemon, again, has to remind her that we pay for shit down here in the streets. It's not the Red Keep. You can't just fucking take shit off trays. So she goes dashing off. And Daemon's like, I'll get her, don't worry. And we get this fun little chase,
where she runs across Sir Harwin Strong.
Lols.
Who will be rumored to have fathered her bastard children that she can't have with Laenor, because Laenor doesn't sleep with women. And it's a lot of fun.
He recognizes her and lets her go.
Sees Daemon coming and is like, "Oh, you've got something happening here. Like, don't let me catch you around here again, boy. Next time you won't be so lucky." And then Daemon runs by, none the wiser.
Right. So then we get to the point that Daemon has been leading to all night. He takes her to a brothel where there's, naked people fucking everywhere. He takes her hat down and reveals her long flowing hair.
Right before that, Alicent is woken up.
Oh, right.
And she's like, yo, it's late. What? And her handmaid is like, yeah, I know it's late. The king demands it, and then it just kind of turns out and walks off.
Gross.
Yeah.
It's gross. It's so gross.
And then cuts to...
Right, they're at a brothel, and, it's the Game of Thrones hot, steamy sex scene that everybody's hoping for. And Daemon is kind of explaining it to her as they go, that this is a place where people come to take what they want. This is the things and the pleasures of life that she would be denying herself is essentially what he's trying to make it seem like his point is. But eventually, of course, Rhaenyra is so transfixed and taken in by everything, they end up making out, and he pushes her against a wall, and they begin to fuck a little bit. And as soon as there's an odd exchange, because Daemon cuts it short and flees and just fucking dips off, leaving her high and dry. And it's just really interesting to see, because it's Rhaenyra gets into it. She fucking likes it and wants more, and kind of starts taking control. And that's when he's like, yeah, nah, I don't like this anymore. This isn't fun for me.
Because he's a gross groomer.
So we cut back to because as Alicent, heads to her dutiful husband, Rhaenyra returns back to the Red Keep and goes through the front door to her room.
Kristen's like, yo, the fuck, just what am I seeing happen right now?
Yeah, it's pretty great. He's just flabbergasted. Like, he asks if she's hurt, and then he's like, yeah, I should tell somebody. And this is when Rhaenyra opens the door and kind of very adorably steals his helmet, and then does
and his heart.
Right, plays keep away. And she kisses him, and then there's the very obvious dilemma in his head.
Right, and I think that's because a lot of people had some discourse with this whole thing. It's just showing that Kristen has to make a hard decision as well. Mm-hmm. And he does make the decision, and I think that there'll be times he regrets it, just like anybody that forsakes their vows for that kind of shit. Jon Snow's still considered, well, not now, he's dead, but, like, there's still the reconsidering of his vows for regret and, like, whether that was right or wrong. And so I think that the actor portrayed it really well.
Yeah, he's obviously conflicted, but
whether
wants
he's doing the right or wrong thing.
Yeah. And yeah, they have a very passionate night together where they fuck, and it's
fucking hot.
Juxtaposed against poor
God's
Alicent. He's Dornish, and juxtaposed against Alicent and Viserys with the very gross shot of his scabby, just sore-riddled back.
Right.
And
so when we didn't mention that when Rhaenyra left the brothel, because Daemon took off and left her there high and dry, there was the little spy boy, similar, very reminiscent of the little spiders that Varys would have running around, the little birds. And so here he is. Yeah. So here we get to see it.
So yeah, obviously heading to Lady Mysaria, and then carrying the information that Otto has, right? But, yeah, and so poor Alicent is just ravishing her fingers, and then eventually we get the cut, as Daemon and Kristen finish up that Viserys is fucking fast asleep, and poor Alicent is left there laying there disassociating and noticing the rat on the bedpost, which, is also meant to imply that not even the Red Keep keeps
rats,
like they are in the king's bedchamber. They are in the king's bed as he is fucking his wife. This is
right.
And it kind of just makes me think of the one House of the Undying vision Danny has of the woman that's basically getting ravaged by all the different like rat-like creatures that are just ripping her apart. It's gross. It's real gross, especially after what happened in that room. But
poor Alicent.
Otto gets a message from the White Worm that there's important news, and so he goes and meets up with the little kid that Nate brought up, and this is the news of Daemon and Rhaenyra in the brothel. And then Daemon begins making his way into the Red Keep proper, but gets grabbed by some Kingsguard.
Well, Otto has to tell Viserys about that first.
Does he do that first?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, doesn't he? Am I jumping ahead, or are you jumping ahead?
Oh, right. No. I jumped ahead a little bit because Daemon wakes up.
Right, in Myssaria's
little chamber there. That's what I meant to say. He wakes up realizing that, right, somebody grabbed him in the night and got him into a safe place, and then, refuses her.
Right, because he hasn't seen her in a few years, too. Right. He's been down in the Stepstones fighting, and she's giving this cool description of how in her time away from him, she's learned that she can make more money off of her words than off of her body. And so she started trading in secrets. And it's, for those who are less familiar, it's kind of akin to how Littlefinger worked. He built himself up from nothing, selling these kinds of things. Similar to Varys, even, who does it. These people that understand that there's more to what they can do and get than just selling their body.
Right.
And so she's begun the trade of secrets and selling those.
Right. Then we get Otto contemplating what to do with this information, and I really like this shot because
it's a very short shot, like 10, 15 seconds.
Shows that he is conflicted in what he's doing. There is,
it should
whether
be
it's
noted.
loyalty to Viserys, I do believe there is some.
They're friends,
but I also don't think, and we were talking about it a little bit, that like scheming is scheming for Otto. Like it just kind of I don't think he thinks he's scheming. I think he thinks that Aegon being named heir is the way it really should be.
I think it's mostly just it's very Stannis-like to him.
Right. This is the way it should be.
This is the order of things, and so I'm supposed to be following. And like part of the order is to try to get your family to be part of the line of succession, so that way you can have a place of power. And so it's not necessary. I mean, it's scheming, is what it is. But to him, he sees it more as abiding by the order of things, in that misogynistic. I'm going to use the women to advance my family name, and who gives a fuck what they think about it.
So Otto goes to his king, and they do a great job in this episode, I think, of showing how feeble Viserys is becoming, as he's basically leaning on a chair this whole conversation.
I think this one is also a really good episode, especially brought up in this spot, with how quickly information and misinformation spreads. Because it quickly goes from the White Worm to Otto to Viserys to Alicent, who's going to overhear it, and all the different people who are hearing things secondhand. And it's showing exactly how the book became, how Fire and Blood was written, is these second and third account stories from, well, I heard it from this person, who heard it from that person, who heard it from, well, I saw Kristen Cole go into Rhaenyra's room in the middle of the night.
Right.
And it just starts going crazy from there.
So Otto, really kind of lays it on thick, saying that he really doesn't relish the fact of telling a father his daughter's exploits, but that Rhaenyra was seen in a brothel last night. And Viserys is like, okay, she went to a brothel, so what? And really pulls the teeth and makes Otto fucking say it, that she was seen in the bowels of a pleasure den.
Coupling with
Daemon. And Viserys loses his shit a little bit.
He gives a great line with the...
Oh, you're so sick with ambition. I love it. It's great.
I was thinking about bring him to me and have his eyes.
The eyes, right, yeah. He refuses to believe it and kicks Otto out, and Otto is kind of upset and leaves. And then Alicent's standing there because she was watching from behind a, divider screen. And that's it. There's just a silent exchange between the king and queen, and then Rhaenyra is combing her hair.
She's upset by this news, though.
Oh yeah, visibly.
Alicent is like tearing up, and we cut to Rhaenyra.
Kristen comes in.
She poor Rhaenyra.
She's so excited.
If she could, because there's who she could have chosen if she really wanted to. Well, she couldn't, but if the king and the world wasn't the way it was, then she loves this dude. They've been hanging out for a while now.
But Kristen isn't here to play boyfriend. He's here with a message from the queen, and they meet alone in the Godswood, and Alicent is like, yo, what the fuck happened last night? And Rhaenyra's like, hi, what?
Huh?
I don't know.
Went to the mall.
And Alicent says that my father has made some very troubling accusations against you, and then they go back and forth. This is an argument I could have imagined them having a couple years before as well.
Right, sure.
But the stakes are now much higher, and I also very much so picked up on this is it feels like a couple, and they're arguing about whether or not someone cheated. Is what it feels like. The way Rhaenyra runs up, and Queen Alicent's sister, I swear to you of all people. And Rhaenyra technically doesn't lie, but swears on the memory of her mother that nothing happened.
That she did not sleep with Daemon.
Right? And Hoo boy.
Right.
So there's a slippery slope. This scene was great, but could potentially be the fracture that turns Alicent against Rhaenyra.
Straw that breaks the camel's back.
And because Alicent is obviously concerned about Rhaenyra's well-being.
Right, because she admits that they went to the brothel and stuff, and Alicent's like, you're an idiot for putting yourself in a position where you could be
called into question.
Right.
Yeah, it's intense. Alicent in this episode was intense, but it was awesome. So yeah, now Daemon arrives at the Red Keep drunk as fuck, poor dude, and gets grabbed by some King's Guard because the king wants to see him.
Get your fucking hands off me.
Matt Smith again, killing it.
Gets
dragged right into the Red Keep, right into the throne
and they
room.
just throw him on the floor where it's
nice and cool.
Great. All right, I'm good.
Yeah,
this I can do.
And Daemon's just going to lay there for a while and just sleep it off until, of course, Viserys has to come in and fuck it up. And he, of course, accuses Daemon of defiling his daughter and then kicks him in the fucking back.
And Daemon knows he doesn't. Or he might even not. Like, he got moving along quick, but I'm pretty sure you don't forget that if you're Daemon.
Right.
And he doesn't... He pretends otherwise.
He pretends. He says, when we were her age, we fucked our way all the way up the brothels to the Street of Silk, and it gets to the point where Daemon says, "Just wed her to me." Like I'll
take her as tarnished
in
as she is,
in the customs of our house. And Viserys is like, right, because it isn't my fucking. I don't know, attention you want, my love, it's not, my throne.
Right, it's not my daughter you lust for, it's my throne.
And Viserys is done with Daemon. He has the blade to his throat and essentially tells him, go back to fucking the Vale, Daemon. And he's banished again. Poor Daemon. But as Viserys leaves, Daemon just curls up and is going to sleep it off.
Similar. I will. I'm on board with going home, but I'm going to sleep off this hangover for a little bit first.
So there's a king-queen comforting moment where Alicent gives Viserys some wine and they're talking about Rhaenyra and whether or not it makes sense that she would lie, and Alicent doesn't believe she is, and, Daemon does with almost every other word out of his mouth. And Viserys is like, why would he do that? And, I wish it was true because it's such a, it's such a good, because she's like, to reduce you. And, it is so... I loved this moment between them because, if he wasn't gross and things weren't as they were, they could have been a really good couple, Viserys and Alicent, because that is such good advice to give.
Right. He's being a dickhead brother.
He's being Daemon. Otto isn't on his radar anymore, so he's gonna fucking do it to needle you. If it weren't true that Daemon and her, at least... coupled a little bit, that then it would be really good advice because Daemon would in fact be lying. But it's such a messy, but it's just, I really liked that moment of Alicent because she has the read on Daemon. She's very much so aware that he does petty shit like this. He would lie about fucking your daughter because it would fucking destabilize your mind about her marriage propositions and whether or not people want, he'd do that literally just to have you have a sleepless night or two, dude. He is that petty. And so, yeah, I really like that scene.
But we finally get Rhaenyra given the opportunity to...
She says the thing.
Tell her father.
She says the thing. Hey, she goes to her father's chamber late at night and... It's just her and him.
And, when she first walks in, it's just a brazier that's got fire just
right, he's
burning.
hiding behind the curtain.
Yeah. Wait for the dagger. Go get the dagger.
Try to touch it, and then we see pop out.
The cat's paw dagger that's got these sweet little glyphs all burning out of them. The One Ring.
Of course, the heat, brings the language to the surface, right. And he tells her, this dagger has the glyphs of, the Song of Ice and Fire. Hey,
right. Aegon had them burned in right before he died, and the dagger used to belong to these people, but it wasn't until Aegon that it was
the prince
inscribed.
Who is promised, the Song of Ice and Fire, the whole thing that we're all doing here, this dance. And he says that this knowledge, this responsibility has been handed down to her and is bigger than her or her desires, and that Jaehaerys would have disinherited your ass.
Jaehaerys the Good.
Let me tell you. And she's like, oh, yeah,
shit.
so you're going to fucking denounce me and name Aegon your heir. And he's like, I would if it wasn't my job to keep, the realm united and not sow further division. And then tells her, you are going to marry. You will marry Sir Laenor Valerian and unite the two most powerful houses and unite the realm.
And I'll hear no protest about it.
And she's like, yeah, of course, so that I can, be a cure for your political headaches. And we
You are my political headache.
And you're like, Rhaenyra, you walked right into that one, because you really are.
And she agrees. She's like, yeah, all right.
What are you going to do about the vulture on your throne? Which is fun. Loved it. Very, Jafar feeling type thing,
Sure.
And yeah, she calls him out. She's like, Otto is a piece of shit having me followed because he wants Aegon named heir and won't stop till he is ?
Right, because we get also the little thing right before this where she says, if I were a man, I would have been able to be down in that brothel fathering as many bastards as I felt like.
I don't give a fuck.
And he's like, you're right. But you weren't.
But
and it's
you're
just
not.
It's that.
That's that. Okay, sucks to suck.
It sucks to suck is what it comes down to.
So Rhaenyra gets to him and kind of convinces him that Otto is now too power hungry, and Otto is then summoned to meet Viserys in the small council chamber, and brings up his own father, Balon Targaryen, and who served as hand of the king for only 5 days before he died of a burst belly. And then Otto Hightower was named king. And Viserys points out that you went from just another man in Jaehaerys' court to the second most powerful man in the realm, which is just real fucking interesting.
And then keeps turning things, how long before you chose your own personal desires over your king?
Grace.
And how convenient it was that, yes, Alicent was a great, comfort throughout. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a calculated distraction. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he says that the queen loves you as you love her. And we were literally just shown that this is not true. Right. She is repulsed by the just very sight. She just calls him husband robotically. It's so fucking gross. And it points out a bit more that I feel as though there was even a bit of surprise for herself when she was named his new wife in that little small council meeting way back when. That the look to Rhaenyra was also I didn't know he was going to be doing that, and that we were, no shit. Oops.
Yeah, that seems to be the way they're taking it with the show here. But Viserys says, the realm owes you a great debt that can't be repaid, but I can no longer trust your judgment, and whoop, takes that pin right off that chest. And then we go to the very last scene of the episode, which is Grandmaster Mellos walking with a tray in his hand and a very fucking sick-looking decanter that I would like to get my hands on.
Chilling, doing some reading.
Right. The door, he knocks and comes in and says, sorry, princess, but it's just finished brewing, and if it's not brewed properly, and she's like, the fuck you talking about? I didn't order room service. What
Your father asked me to brew you some tea.
I'm pulling a Hoster Tully. Clink, clink.
And it's moon tea. This is moon tea.
Drink it and you won't have babies. It's plan B.
It's the morning after potion.
Pill. Yeah, right. So, clearly
but we also know that this shit can fucking ravage a woman into her womb. This is some dangerous shit, too, if not brewed correctly, which is what happened with Lysa Tully.
Yeah, and Rhaenyra stares at it, and then that's the episode ends. We don't actually know whether or not she drinks it, but clearly Viserys doesn't believe her.
Right. It's
that she remains a maiden, at least. Which, she doesn't, but it's it's complicated, as is most things in this shitty little fandom of ours.
My next thing is, because if it's a morning after potion that can be brewed efficiently and regularly without ravaging, maybe that's hey, if you want to go and live your life, here's some potion, go do you, and that's... But is it specifically for this one event and occurrence? And if you ever do it again, I will cut your fucking throat.
It's we're the rich 1%, so we're gonna fix it. to make sure that you're perfect and still fit within the mold. And it's gross.
It's vile. It's not good.
So we'll convene our small council and get some inductees, because we did get some inductees.
Yay.
So that's cool.
The following is a paid sponsorship. Support for Brotherhood Without Manners is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, the Performance Package. Join over 5 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code NOMANNERS at manscaped.com. The Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped has arrived, and oh man is it a game changer. Inside the package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. I just got my package, and let me tell you, it is all amazing stuff. The Lawnmower 4.0 is the trimmer of the future. It cuts, but only hair. It doesn't have any issues with making me worry that I'm going to have to put some Band-Aids all down on my balls. So let me tell you, it's worth it. Give it a try. Head over to manscaped.com and use code NOMANNERS for 20% off your purchase.
That's how Allison tells people to enter, and Renera.
It's also how most people finish.
It's how most people should finish.
Right.
I hope. Enjoy your orgasms, folks.
That's true.
Welcome to the small council.
So nobody's safe. We did get some inductees though.
Nobody's safe from cum?
I guess. I don't know, man. It's been a long day.
You got an inductee for episode 4 of Hot DDD.
Yeah, I think this one goes to... Well, I was going to specifically just be for the Queen, but I think I want to put Rhaenyra in it too. But the Queen... Mainly it's for the
Queen.
Well, I'm just mad that I don't add them. I'm at both of them. And it's because they don't get the choice to fucking
do that.
Choose their own damn futures. So, like, she's getting raped through this episode, and Rhaenyra's getting fucking badgered and, screamed at for trying to grow up and enjoy the pleasures of life and see what it's like to grow as an adult. But neither of them are allowed to fucking do it because the men want to play their fucking Game of Thrones.
Who doesn't?
Me.
Oh.
I don't want to do
Shit.
that.
Then stop reading. My inductee is a similar vein, but mine is to the Queen of Hearts, Queen Allison, because of that fucking outfit in the Godswood party. Like, my God, the Targaryen colors look good on that girl. So that, because just Queen all day, sure. Queen of my heart. And honorary inductee to our girl losing it at Dragonstone, because she can come in and laugh at the gossip and the tea that's spilled.
Yeah.
So she can absolutely...
Was it Storm's End?
Oh, right. Not Dragonstone. Storm's End. Right.
Yeah.
But we did get some listener inductees.
Yeah, so Chase wrote in our I believe our newest patron. Thanks again for being a wonderful patron.
I don't know if we shouted you out last episode, but yeah, Chase, thanks.
Chase's inductee, my inductee for this episode is young Samwell Blackwood, brave enough to try and court Rhaenyra, knowing that he didn't stand a chance, and when that asshole Gerald Bracken made fun of him, he showed why he would make a good king consort. He defended his honor and has somewhat of the same energy as Lyanna Mormont in this scene. Anyone who reminds me of her will always get my inductee. Valar Moon T. Harris.
He drew his sword like me trying to get bacon on a fork when I'm cooking it. He looked so scared of the grease popping out at him that I really identified with
he
him.
handled that blade, man.
So thanks, Chase, because that's great.
That was a good one, yeah. And again, like we said during the episode, having the Blackwoods and the Brackens in it at all is just super cool, especially this early foreshadowing before we get Bloody Ben holding up the fucking Riverlands,
So shut up. We also got an inductee from Kristen. And Kristen, most importantly, definitely agrees with Zach on Patty Constantine as Viserys. Constantine, right?
He could be Constantine.
You know, you're right. It's just my brain just wants to go there, so it automatically. She says she was blown away by Matt Smith, but in 3 and 4, I was more and more impressed with Patty. Not that Matt Smith also isn't still impressive. Damon is her fave with like too many E's, so like Kristen, settle down. It's the hot D,
you
but
don't need to settle down.
You don't need to settle down. Damon is a lot of faves. She also has a certain point in this email that I did want to read out because she poses a question to us. And she says, I've seen a lot of polarization over Allison's confrontation of Rhaenyra and Allison in general. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? Given the showrunner's interpretation of Allison, I think her anger at Rhaenyra came from a wholesome place. Allison has been actually one of the biggest proponents of Rhaenyra's succession, so watching her jeopardize her own claim is probably immensely frustrating. Plus, she's definitely jealous of Daemon because she's in love with her. I like that we have 2 very real and unsympathetic female characters to underscore that it is perfectly valid to choose a lifestyle of marriage, motherhood, and traditional gender roles, but equally valid to choose a lifestyle of none of those things. And I agree wholeheartedly. I've vocalized it to Nate that I felt like I was a lone ship in the ocean of the fandom, saying that this was a scene between 2 lovers, and it was them saying, no, I wouldn't sleep with anybody but you if I had the choice. I want to be with you because you're my person. And it felt like that to me. It affected me in that way. I was sad for these girls that they weren't given the chance to explore that with each other if they so chose to or not. Regardless of whether it would have been a sexual relationship, they loved each other and should have been free to blossom that or not into whatever they wished. Neither of them were. Allison's married off and Allison is being groomed, switch that. Allison's married off to the king, and Rhaenyra is being groomed by her gross uncle, and then every other man who wants her claim. So I agree 100% with you. It hit me just like that.
Yeah, I don't think it was... Well, she was just as hurt by her father's accusation of Rhaenyra, while also understanding why the fuck are you having my friend followed, right. And what is the purpose?
Allison was it was almost the tell me it's not true. Please convince me because I don't want to believe that you would do this. That's too much. And Rhaenyra,
because you have to also factor in that we sat there and watched her rape scene during the same time while she was experiencing, and that's a big part of that is to show that for Allison. Sex is not a pleasure. It's not. What are you doing in those places when you're a woman? You shouldn't. And she's just not understanding it yet, or at all, because it's very, to me, like Cersei. Cersei uses it as a tool and not so much as a pleasure whatsoever, except for with Jaime.
Right.
But even then, there was this for her own pleasures and, in a manipulative sort of way. But Allison's not there.
It doesn't. I was questioning it the first couple episodes whether or not Allison was playing a game, and I don't at all think she is. And I'm a big fan of this version of Allison. I very much so am rooting for both of them. I wish they could both get happily ever afters.
Right, even though
neither one of them are gonna and it's awful. But I think they're both. I really like Allison specifically. She was a standout of this episode for me.
Yep. So thanks, Kristen.
Kristen's inductee for this episode is Miss Arya. She walked so Varys could run.
There you go.
And this is just a great inductee for a great email. Thank you, Chase. Thank you, Kristen. If you would like to write into us, you can do so at many places. We'll take inductees wherever you want to send them. But the main way people send them is withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. Nate and I both check that email frequently.
Yeah, but we're also somewhat active on Twitter, @MannersWithout for Nate. Zach is @Carstark92. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners. Facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. You can pretty much search us anywhere in Brotherhood Podcast. Song of Ice and Fire reread is pretty good. If we're being sponsored, check them out. That's appreciated very much.
Absolutely.
It helps us keep getting content on a more regular schedule.
Starving artist is certainly a thing.
Yeah. So Next episode that'll be coming out, what is it called? Do you recall what it's called? It should be around here somewhere.
Something fucking bizarre, I thought.
Give us a moment, I suppose.
Let's just sit here and ooh and ah.
I don't know. Whatever it's called, though, it's going to be fucking sick, I'm sure. Because I think it might be the last episode with the current cast.
With the young versions, I agree.
And the older episodes are... the older cast members that are portraying the elder versions are going to be it, you know.
Bruh, I can't find this
Me
name.
either.
So check fuck it.
You'll see when we send it out.
It's named something.
You've got it. So
we're not your fucking secretaries. We don't have to look shit up to name it for you. Do it yourself. Don't be lazy.
But we love you. Thanks for listening. Bella de Harris.
Peace.